Right, welcome back everyone. My name's Token D Rock here with another video live stream ordeal. I hope all of you are having a wonderful day. It's February 15th. We are past the $1.9 trillion market cap in crypto. We're inching up towards that that 2.0 trillion-dollar market cap for crypto. Bitcoin seems to have found a footing above 43K. Ethereum is above 3100 again. BNB above 400. Solana above 100 again. Looking at the daily, as we discussed in yesterday's video, talked about how Bitcoin has recently found some local support at 41,700 as of late, and past 24 hours we regained some support at the $43,000 support line. We're facing some resistance right here, right around 44,500. It might, and this resistance band that we have up here actually might extend down to this wick over here down at 44.5. And so roughly have like $1,000 range of resistance that the bulls need to break past to get to these next price points like 47,500 and upwards from there. But looking at this chart one more time, you guys, I brought this chart up many times, but as you can see on July 20th, we did spring up and we had roughly like almost $15,000 of price movement to the upside from roughly 29, 30K all the way up to 40, 42, 43K. Seeing a similar price movement over here past a few weeks. That's not to say we can't retest these lower lines of support just to confirm that they are indeed support. They haven't flipped to resistance or anything like that. So you do need to theorize that the market can go down a bit further, you guys. We could go back down here again. It's a lot of moving parts in the world between the pandemic and the tensions in Ukraine. There's just a lot of stuff going on. So keep your eyes peeled, stack some cash on the side. Yesterday we went over inflation figures. That's why I'm super bullish on crypto. But getting to the actual news for today, you guys have been paying attention yesterday to the Ukraine situation. Yesterday afternoon, President Zelensky of Ukraine released a statement over on Facebook, basically talking about how his country stands in unity despite the rising tensions. They also stated that Russia would attack Ukraine tomorrow, which is February 16th. Weirdly enough, the Ukrainian president's chief of staff released this yesterday, and he says that the Ukrainian president's claims and comments were nothing but irony, or they were ironic. So to not take them too seriously. I'm very confused with the messaging here because you're putting out in the air that this foreign power may attack me in 2 days' time, and then a few hours later, you chalk it up to be a joke. In my opinion, I don't know what's going on over there. They may just be playing games. But some good news regarding this is that Russia says it's withdrawing some troops from the Ukrainian border. This came from the defense ministry. Confirmed that this morning that some of the troops stationed at the country's border with Ukraine are returning to base after completing some drills. They're going to continue the drills, but they are withdrawing some forces. And this statement came after Biden's deputy principal press secretary said that Russia has not moved to de-escalate its presence on Ukrainians' borders. They're trying to appease the other powers that be. And it's interesting to note that the Chancellor of Germany, Olaf Scholz, arrived in Moscow on Tuesday to talk with Putin. I know that Russia and Germany have like a pipeline of sorts. They have the Nord Stream. This gives natural gas, goes through the Baltic Sea and stuff, and go all the way to Germany. It's pretty big infrastructure thing that connects the two countries. It's very important for both countries. They benefit very they both benefit very handsomely from this pipeline. I think the German chancellor is just over there trying to cool the tensions because obviously, if Russia gets in a conflict with NATO, that's not good for the relationship between Russia and Germany with the pipeline. Also, again, this is just speculation, guys. I mean, this could, all these games that we're seeing, all this news and FUD that we're hearing, it could all just be a game in a way. Could the US, Russia, and Ukraine be fudding the markets intentionally to bring down the price of Bitcoin so that way maybe they get to stack some more at a discounted price? I don't know. In my opinion, it's not too far fetched if you ask me, because just a few weeks ago we had the banks of Russia basically talking about how they're going to ban cryptocurrency, and the Russian government basically called them out and said, "Hey, you're not going to do any of that. You're not banning crypto. You don't have a say in this. And actually, you're going to start selling crypto to our citizens." So, enough with the talks of banning crypto. And also, I don't know if you guys remember, but the DOJ did retrieve something like $3.6 billion in Bitcoin stolen in the Bitfinex hack that occurred back in 2016. Personally, I do not think the DOJ is just going to hand and distribute the Bitcoin over to its proper owners. I just don't see that happening. Then you have they did seize like $3.6 million. I believe I believe it's 3.6. Let's fact check that. Pipeline US Bitcoin seizure. I don't want to put out fake numbers, but 2.3 million. So, I mean, they bleh. The Department of Justice very well may have a Bitcoin on its balance sheet, or it may be using these seizures as a way to accumulate Bitcoin, because I think if the US government were to outright say, "Hey, we're buying Bitcoin," I think the cat is out of the bag at that point, because the US, for the time being, is the world leading superpower. And them admitting that the US dollar is highly inflated as to why they're buying Bitcoin and using it as a hedge against inflation would just basically admit to the world that, hey, stop using our reserve currency as your currency. It's not worth what we claim it is. So maybe you should adopt Bitcoin too. That's my opinion. Again, anything you hear and see in this video is financial opinion. It's not to be taken as financial advice. I'm not a qualified financial advisor. It's all for entertainment and education purposes. But I don't know. In other news, I don't know if you guys have heard about this, but you have the State Department telling people fleeing from Ukraine that are entering in Poland have to show proof of a medical procedure that I'm not going to get into, but it's very interesting that they're panicking about potentially a war occurring in Ukraine, but you can't flee to the neighboring country unless you have a medical procedure and you present your papers. Not again, not going to get too political about that, but that's a bit ridiculous. A clown world theatrics, if you ask me. In other news, we have XDNI Ratcliffe expects more indictment in Durham's RussiaGate probe. So, essentially, back in 2016, the Hillary Clinton and her campaign, along with Obama and Joe Biden, asserted the idea that Trump was colluding with Russia to win the 2016 election. This was a narrative that was told for 4+ years over on mainstream media like CNN, MSNBC. It's kind of along the lines of what Mr. Biden would like to call the big lie. You just say it a few hundred times, becomes the truth. And so many people, some of my friends included, believed in this narrative. I was always a bit skeptical. Like, I mean, yeah, there could be a little bit collusion, but I don't like, it's not in my, um, it's not in my position to say, yeah, there was definitively no collusion, and then I'm not going to be one of those people that's like, oh yeah, there was definitely collusion. Like it's just so obvious they're covering everything up, blah 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 blah. Like I'm not here to be a conspiracy theorist. This is not the channel where we do that. You can go to plenty of other channels and find that material, but what's interesting about this whole ordeal, you guys, is the fact that they created a plan to vilify former President Donald Trump, falsely accusing him with ties to Russia. Obama and Biden were briefed on the matter, like I told you earlier. And on Friday, just this past Friday, John Durham, who's in charge of investigating this whole ordeal, he filed a motion alleging that Hillary Clinton's 2016 presidential campaign paid an internet company to extract data from Trump Tower and the White House to try to tie Trump to a Russian bank. In my opinion, people are starting to realize that this narrative that was spread across the internet and mainstream media for 4+ years was pretty much a nothing burger. They couldn't find any collusion of sorts. And the voters are starting to realize, some Democrats are starting to realize that they were duped for many, many, many years. And don't get me wrong, Republicans have been duped about many things, but this is very, very damaging to Mrs. Clinton's um, option to run for 2024, because as more and more people figure out the truth and realize what's what, they're not going to want to support a politician who plays by these shady games. And not to mention, if they're going to be playing these shady games with someone who's running for president, who's running against them, what are they going to do to citizens? You know, it's just a interesting precedent that's being set. And I think people are snapping out of it. Last bit of news that I want to get into is Prime Minister Trudeau invokes Emergency Act in response to the ongoing protests in Ottawa and around Canada. He says the act will be limited in time, scope, and geographical area, and is not being used to call in the military or to override the charter. Um, Personally, I'm so against this. Like again, not trying to get too political with all of this, but Trudeau is essentially squashing free speech in Canada with this, because these truckers, to my knowledge, are pretty much all peaceful. They're gathering, they're having friends, they're standing for what they believe in, which is bodily autonomy. Under Trudeau's worldview, everyone needs to take a medical procedure. And if they don't, they will be ousted from society, meaning they can't work, they can't socialize, they can't be a human being, they can't live freely. You won't be able to travel. And so he's basically, with this decree, he's saying, you know, if you're still out there protesting, mindfully, it's minding you, it's all peaceful. If you're out there protesting right now, we're going to arrest you, we're going to try you, and you're not going to be able to travel, you're not going to be able to do X, Y, and Z. You may be arrested. You'll have a criminal record, meaning you'll have trouble finding jobs. This, in my opinion, is just despicable behavior for a leader of the first world, or the Western world as we know it. That's disgusting behavior, if you ask me. Again, not going to get too political about it, because YouTube has a tendency to try and censor people who get too into the details. But and then another thing is like, look at this. These are like army vehicles for protesters. Is this all necessary to enforce a medical procedure? I don't know. I say just let the people make the informed decision whether or not they get this medical procedure. But that's just me. I don't know. Maybe I was raised wrong. And then on top of that, a Canadian judge froze access to donations for the trucker convoy protest occurring over in Canada. How disgusting is that, you guys? These people are trying to protest peacefully in every way, shape, or form. They're trying to stand up for bodily autonomy. They're trying to stand up to a government that's backing them in the corner. They're standing up for what they believe in, and people around Canada and the US and around the world are trying to send funds to these truckers because they share a sentiment, they share a connection to these truckers. They can identify with these truckers, they can relate to some extent. And so they are doing all these fundraising efforts, and they're getting squashed by Canadian courts, by Canadian judges. It's disgusting. But again, can't get too political about it because YouTube will take it down. But in my opinion, this is super bullish for cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. Look, as GoFundMe freezes truckers' Freedom Convoy donations, Bitcoin sessions create crowdfunding through Bitcoin and raises 2.3 Bitcoins for the truckers and more than 2,000 donations. So look, this is whether that is like 100% true or 100% false. I don't know. We can't verify that, to be honest. But the reality is, if the institutions, whether it's GoFundMe or the courts, decide that your funds cannot go to this place or that person, is that really freedom? I don't think so. And it's not like these funds are being, siphoned to Al Qaeda or a terrorist organization. We're talking about truckers in Ottawa that are literally eating. They're with their families. They're playing games. They're having a good time trying to stand up for what they believe in. So, in my opinion, I think cryptocurrency will be a form of which many, many people moving forward will start crowdfunding. Because as you can see, the Canadian courts shot down funding to peaceful protesters. Regardless of your political belief, that is an encroachment on your First Amendment, which is the freedom to assembly, freedom of speech, and they're destroying that. So what's next? Again, not going to get too into theories or anything like that, but it's it's scary times, you guys. But I'm very hopeful that Bitcoin and cryptocurrency will be strong and they will be prominent moving forward because of stuff like this, where you have, the judge freezing funds that were supposed to go to peaceful protesters. Look at this. Nayib Bukele is so base. The president of El Salvador, he's exactly right. If they had military vehicles on the street to handle protesters like this in El Salvador, the EU, the US, all these other Western world countries that like to be beacons of freedom and democracy, or claim to be, would be shitting their pants. They would be invading El Salvador in a heartbeat. But it's okay when they do it, right? It's very interesting to see how this is all unfolding. But just to end the clip off, here's the Freedom Convoy in Ottawa, okay? I don't see any violence going on. And these people are going to be arrested? What? It's a bit crazy if you ask me. A little bit overkill, Trudeau. Might want to rethink your strategy, because you and a lot of your politician buddies are going to be voted out in a heartbeat next election. Just you wait. You do not know what you're sowing for yourself. You need to allow people to peacefully protest and assemble. And you know what? If you have millions of people in your street mandating that you get rid of medical procedure mandates and all this garbage, all this nonsense, maybe you should go out in the streets and talk to them face to face and hear them out, and then maybe adjust your policies a bit. But clowns will continue to be clowns, as we all know. The great honkening is continuing regardless of whether this movement in Canada is shut down or not. Other movements around the globe are starting. Here in the US, we have a trucker convoy that's trying to get together, go from the West Coast, I think in LA, starting in LA, all going all the way to Washington, D.C. I think this is beautiful, dude. We're seeing people come together over a common cause. And I think cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, all of that is going to further our efforts and accelerate our progression to becoming fully sovereign beings. That's kind of feels weird to say, but I think this pandemic has shown many of us that we aren't as free as we claim to be. And those freedoms can be stripped away in a heartbeat. And it takes a lifetime to earn those back and fight for them back. But um, go with, and not sound like a preacher or anything, but go with peace. If you're gonna protest, please be out there peaceful. Don't We don't need any people starting violence. There's enough of that in this world. We don't need to stoop to their level, okay? But until next stream, everyone, if you found this stream informative, educational, helpful in any way, shape, or form, please smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell to be notified when I go live next. And I will see you guys tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Have a great day.